Well, everybody, thanks for tuning in to another edition of the Line of Scrimmage with me, Ryan Neff, my co-host here, Delco Dave. Dave, how the hell are you after the blizzard?
I'm doing all right, man. The kitchen was in shambles for the most part. I think we have a busted pipe somewhere. The hood went out. There's no motor. So it's been a crazy couple days in the kitchen trying to sling cheesesteaks for me. But no, I'm doing all right, though. Everybody's safe. Everybody's okay. Dealing with these negative temperatures for the next, 2 weeks. You wouldn't think I'm in the middle of America. I feel like I'm in, Alaska right now. How you been, though, bro?
Hanging tough. The Eagles lost yesterday, which sort of like capped the weekend for me, especially with the Chiefs lead. I know
Wait, can
Angel.
you explain? Wait, can you explain the Chiefs' hate for the Eagles? I don't get it. I had Chiefs fans posting stuff on my timeline that they were happy the Eagles were gone. Like the Chiefs aren't a rival. We played you guys one time in the Super Bowl. This is why I think the Chiefs fan base is one of the most insufferable fan bases. Explain to me why Cowboys fans, I get it. Giants fans, why do the Chiefs give a damn that the Eagles got knocked out of the playoffs? I don't get it.
Well, you do remember what Sirianni did after the game, so that's probably why. You know,
It's a soft fan base, baby. Soft. If that's what bothers you, it's a soft fan base.
Hey, look, you know why I hate the Eagles. I'm a former Dallas Cowboy fan, but uh, look, they're- yeah, I mean, I guess every fan base is sort of insufferable at any given point during the season. So, but I gave the Eagles fans a little bit of a break last night. I didn't say too much. They were already like, on their high horse about the Cowboys losing, and I know everybody was optimistic about last night, but that was just about as a horse crap performance as what the Cowboys put forth. So
Yeah, that was brutal, man. I mean, and listen, if Baker wasn't playing the Eagles, I would have been rooting for him. I'm a big Baker Mayfield fan. I feel like he had a role deal in Cleveland. I feel like Cleveland at this point regrets that decision. So I was happy that Baker balled out. I think didn't he have both? No, he had Switzer was in the crowd there because he's supporting Baker, and was Lincoln Riley there too? Is that he had his college coach and a former right?
yeah,
So
they
like
were-
people love this guy, man. His teammates love him. Like I'm happy to see Baker getting. I mean, I hate obviously last night I was in my feels. But what you said about Eagles fans giving Cowboys fans a hard time the day prior, I did none of that. I was like, yo, I'm like, we got our own stuff to handle. I'm like, I'm not giving anybody any receipts to keep. We got 24 hours to go.
yeah. Coming up at 8 over 45, Mr. AJ Spurr. He is the site editor for USA Today SMG at Roll Tide Wire. He does write about college football at UA_JCM. He does cover Tide football. We're going to get into everything that's going on with Alabama football going into the offseason. Some of the news and notes that I wanted to cover today, and I want to get Dave's opinion on this. Obviously, the big news, University of Alabama signs Kevin DeBoer to be their next head coach. Coming from Washington, he's had success everywhere he's been. Again, last week, I said I didn't understand it. Coaching in the now defunct Pac-12, Pac-14, whatever the hell it is a lot different than coaching in the SEC. Again, you're going to have to go up against the likes of LSU, Ole Miss, Georgia, Tennessee, Oklahoma, Texas, to name a plethora of other teams. So he's already putting together a staff. We can ask AJ more about that. But, again, I thought he should have stayed where he was. What he was building in Washington going into the Big Ten. So I think he would have had bigger success in the Big Ten than what he's going to have at Alabama. But again, he's been successful everywhere he's been. And you're following a legend. So obviously he feels like he's up to the task. But again, Dave, I think he's going to be in for a rude awakening.
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely a different level of competition. And I think recruiting is going to be his biggest thing. He's going to have to recruit. Saban was a master recruiter. He was able to bring people all the time. Granted, and I think Reggie Bush was the one that said it, that the NIL changed the landscape and Saban no longer had the control he did because of the NIL and it was level in the playing field. And Reggie Bush thinks that's the reason that Saban stepped away. Like, hey, listen, he didn't have this control over these 5-star recruits anymore. He was have to compete with everybody, and that's why he left. So the NIL in general, it levels the playing field. So Alabama's not falling behind or raising at all with the new hire. Honestly, I would love it to. It'd be a cool episode if we could ever do it. I mean, it'd be a ton of gets. But like, imagine sitting down with like Bill Cowher and discussing with him replacing Chuck Noll, right? That's like the kind of situation you're stepping into right now. Like you're replacing somebody of that kind of clout, that kind of legendary status. Like, how do you handle that as a head coach coming in there? Like that's going to be. It's such an interesting dynamic, and I think Alabama is going to be a huge story for the next 2-3 years. Not so much. I mean, obviously they come out of the gates, they just win. I mean, if he goes undefeated and then is in the playoffs, like it's like all right, like he's good to go. But if he doesn't, that dynamic's gonna be real fascinating to watch and monitor over the next couple seasons.
Let's see. Briscoe Ron tuning in. This was like 3 hours ago. Uh,
He's talking about the Eagles game and AJ that was
yeah.
on for the other game that was saying,
Oh,
yeah.
okay. All right. It just said 3 hours. I'm looking at the bottom of it here. So, Mickey Delaney checking in. What's up, Mickey?
Hey, Mickey, I sent you a friend request on Facebook, bro.
So just to give you a little bit of background on Kevin DeBoer, and we'll ask AJ more about this. He was the head football coach at the University of Sioux Falls from 2005 to 2009, Cal State University, Fresno from 2020 to 2021, and the University of Washington from 2022 to 2023. At Sioux Falls, his teams won 3 NAIA football national championships in 2006, 2008, and 2009. So, he comes from South Dakota, obviously, but again, I just think that coaching in the SEC is going to be a hell of a lot tougher than anywhere it's been before. So, and again, they've added Buffalo's Lindquist as a co-defensive coordinator. So again, he's already trying to put together a staff. I did see where they've lost a couple of commits though, since Nick Saban has left. And again, Dave, to expand about what you were talking about with Saban and what Reggie Bush was saying. I said this like last year about Nick Saban. He does not like the way college football, the way the landscape is going. I know he probably didn't like expansion in the SEC. He hates the NIL. And all these recruits, it's a bidding war now. And he doesn't like where it was going. He doesn't want to put up with it. It's a game he doesn't recognize anymore with all these changes that are going on. So, and again, he's in his early 70s and it's the grind, and I get it. So, I mean, he has nothing left to prove. He's got 7 national titles, SEC titles galore. The man's won more games than some coaches, in 30 years of coaching. So, again, he has nothing left to prove. And will he pop up somewhere on TV next year? I probably would venture to say that that's probably possible.
Yeah, he can write his own ticket. I mean, he doesn't even have to pop on TV if he doesn't want to. If he gets one of his grandkids to help him, work a laptop and set up his own podcast, he can do anything he wants to from his own home, and people would watch and listen to it. You know what I mean? He can do whatever he wants to. So he sees the writing on the wall. He, like you said, the game's changing, the layout's changing. He just goes, all right, like I'm not going to do this anymore. Like this isn't what I recognize. This isn't what I want to do. Walks away and does whatever he wants to. ESPN will throw him a bunch of money. Any one of these Fox will throw him a bunch. Any one of these networks will throw him a bunch of money to come sit down a couple hours every Saturday or every Friday night and discuss the upcoming games. And he a lot less of the grind, a lot less work, a lot less man hours put in.
Just some of the other news and notes. Ohio State Buckeyes have hired Mr. Bjork from Texas A&M to be the new AD. What's the old AD? Is it Gene Smith, I think, who said it was going to be his last year at Ohio State there. So they're obviously bringing somebody in from SEC country to be the AD. And every indications that I've heard about Ohio State this year is that other than Marvin Harrison and some of the guys that defected and entered the transfer portal, a lot of the guys are coming back. And a lot of people are expecting Ohio State to be one of the favorites to win the national title. Now, Michigan will have something to say about that going into next year. We still have to wait to see what's going to go on there. But Uh, again, Buckeyes going with an SEC guy. The Buckeyes. I mean, Ohio State can hire anybody the hell they want to. They can pay them X amount of dollars. So uh, good move on their part. Most likely, but it doesn't matter who they bring in as the AD over there. I mean, they've got the facilities, they've got the funds, they've got it's a win-win situation, Dave.
What's it mean for the head coach for Day?
What's that?
What's it mean for Ryan Day? What's it mean for the head coach? Do you think?
I don't know what the relationship between him and the outgoing AD was, and it was Gene Smith. Um, I don't know much about Bjork. He's 51. He's got to work on the transition with Smith as far as get everything set and prepared. Um, and I'll just read some of the notes on Bjork. He brings more than a decade of SEC experience to Ohio State. He worked at Ole Miss as the athletic director from 2012 to 2019 before being hired at Texas A&M. Prior to Ole Miss, he was the athletic director at Western Kentucky, and before that, an associate or an assistant AD at schools including UCLA, Miami, and Missouri. So he obviously brings a ton of experience. And look, he's at Ole Miss. You see where the football program is headed there with Lane Kiffin. Texas A&M. Now he probably brought in. Let's see, he was there 2012 to 2019. Obviously, he brought in Jimbo Fisher. Jimbo Fisher's not really didn't work out the way that they thought it was going to. But being the athletic director at Western Kentucky, Western Kentucky is smaller schools. They're a little bit of a powerhouse when it came to the smaller schools before making the jump up to Division One. And UCLA, Miami, Missouri. So he just brings a ton of experience. Gene Smith was sort of, I'm not going to say a dictator, but he was he was a hammer fist kind of AD. And maybe Bjork, it's Ross Bjork, maybe he will be a little bit more lax, maybe, have a little bit better of a rapport. So uh, obviously, Ryan Day, they're going to give him another year. And going into next year, Dave, I think if Day doesn't make the playoff, and that will be entailing beating Michigan. You have to beat Michigan if he wants to save his job this year. You've got to beat Michigan this year. You
Well,
beat
especially
Michigan,
if Michigan loses Harbaugh and then
yeah,
you still don't beat Michigan,
yeah,
like you could be fired after that game.
yeah,
Like he might not make it past that game if Harbaugh goes to the NFL and Ohio State loses to Michigan in the season. That could be it for him right there. He lost to Michigan with no Harbaugh on the sideline,
yeah.
so Harbaugh was suspended. He lost. So with the new AD coming in, I'm intrigued because I could see it being this could be he could have a very short leash this year. I could see it being an issue for days on the hot seat. I think with the new AD and the way this past season shook out.
Yeah, and I look. Let's be honest. Ohio State in the regular season is probably going to run roughshod over everybody, leading up to Michigan. They'll more than likely be favored in every game leading up to that Michigan game. So more than likely, Dave, they're going to be undefeated going into the Michigan game, and you have to beat Michigan. If he beats Michigan, makes the college football playoff, makes a national title game, uh, then I think they'll probably give him another year after that, or maybe another couple years. But if you go undefeated in the regular season again, and then you lose to Michigan again, doesn't matter what bowl they play in, doesn't matter. He's going to be gone.
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, you have to, gone are the days. Look, John Cooper was at Ohio State X amount of years, and he had a terrible record against Michigan. But the college football landscape 30 years ago is a hell of a lot different than what it is today. So they're not going to give coaches like that amount of time to beat your rival. Just ask, uh, God, Auburn, Alabama, and um, you had that rivalry way back when Alabama was beating up on Auburn, and then Pat Dye came in as the Auburn coach, and he had decent success, against the old ball coach. So again, you've got to beat Michigan. You have to, even if Harbaugh comes back, dude. Even if Harbaugh comes back, they lost McCarthy and Corum to the NFL draft because they both are entering the draft. Michigan might be in a little bit of a. They're just going to restock, but you got quarterback questions at Michigan, and some of the other questions that'll be hanging over Michigan's head. But even if Harbaugh comes back, you still have to beat him, whether he's there or not. So, Mickey Delaney, Ryan Neff, after the show, check your Facebook, please. Thank you. All right, Mickey, I will do that. Again, AJ Spurr coming on here soon. Hope nothing happened. It's supposed to come out at 8:45, so um, I don't know, Angel, if he's called in yet or not, or if he's on hold. Uh, I just tried to text him again. So, some of the other news and notes. Let's see. Oh, Arizona hired a new head coach because the Arizona coach shocked everybody and decided to bolt Arizona after the successful year that they had, and he's going to Washington. Um, so Arizona hired San Jose State's Burt Brennan as the school's next football coach. He was with San Jose State for 5 years. Um, and what he So they were 26-19 over the past 4 seasons with 3 bowl appearances during that span. And look, being San Jose State, one of the lesser programs in the country, you make 3 bowl games out of 5 years, you're having some really good success. So, okay. So we'll get back to that. Let's bring him on. AJ, can't hear anything. Is he there? AJ, you there? Still can't hear him. Yep. Yep. It's all right. Ladies and gentlemen, you can insert your think music here. Uh, the power of live internet or digital radio, my friends. Uh, it's a beautiful thing. So, anyway, um, AJ still can't hear him. Nope. Now I can.
Hey!
There he is. AJ, thanks so much for coming on, man. It's a lot to get into. Um, so, where do we go into the offseason? Obviously, Nick Saban retires. There's been a plethora of reasons. He said that he's retiring because it's the daily grind. He's in his early 70s. But let's be real, AJ. I think that the way he saw the college landscape panning out now, I think that had a lot to do with it as well. Don't you think? Dave?
Yeah, man, I agree with everything AJ just said. I mean, when you're 72 years old, I'm 34 and I have a hard time relating to anybody in their early 20s at this point. So, like, when you're 72, well, how are you going to connect with an 18, 19-year-old coming out of high school?
So with all that being said, Kevin DeBoer comes in obviously, and he's starting to put his staff together. But I don't, to be honest with you, AJ, I don't understand the hire. I don't get it. I understand he's had great success wherever he's been, but look, coaching in the SEC is a whole lot different than coaching where he's been. I think he's going to find that out. So when you got to go against the likes of Ole Miss is up and coming, you got to go against LSU, Georgia, Tennessee, now Oklahoma, Texas. So, and then you're following a legend. It's just like a no-win situation. Dave?
Yeah, AJ. So I made the comment and comparison earlier that this is like Bill Cowher replacing Chuck Noll. I'm just curious. Do you have any historical comparison yourself for what the board's stepping into right here, like, or is it a one of a kind situation?
Would you compare this? And I hate to go back a ways. Uh, would you compare this to Ray Perkins following the Bear? Maurice Linguist, what do we know? Is it a good hire? Is it TBD? Mr. Dave?
Yeah, so to take it outside of Alabama specifically, there's been a lot of talk about super conferences and the direction of college football as a whole. AJ, where do you see the college football landscape over the next 2 to 5 years?
Well, Dave, did you have a follow up?
Yeah, well, he mentioned dealing with the NIL and the transfer portal,
I'll get him
and
started.
I just don't understand. And this just might be this is just me maybe not knowing it, or I haven't found the information. Why can't we just make it so that players can't declare until after the bowl games? Is there any like is there a reason it has to happen when the biggest what is supposed to be the biggest time of the year for college football? Why are players walking out then? Like, why can't we make it so that there's a set period, or here's where you can enter, here's where you can declare?
You know what? I'm old school, AJ. I'm an old fart. Uh, I'm 55. I don't like where college football is headed. To be quite honest with you, I said a couple of years ago when NA, NIL came into play that they just opened a whole Pandora's box. Um, and as far as like all this realignment, you can thank Greg Sankey for that. as, as far as letting Oklahoma and Texas in to the SEC. But look, I said this 5, 10 years ago, AJ, where I was like, look, you know, the presidents and the ADs of the universities and the commissioners of the conferences, they're getting sick of the NCAA. And when Greg Sankey decided to let Oklahoma and Texas in, it just opened the floodgates. And what you're going to see, it might not happen next year, 3 years from now, but I'm going to say within the next 5 to 10 years, they're going to have one super conference and they're going to break away from the NCAA and they're going to say, sayonara, we're going to go do our own thing. And that's going to be the end of it. I hate to say it like this, but do you really think out of all that's happened in the landscape of college football over the last year and a half that the higher ups really give a rat's ass about the student athlete? Dave, I'll give you. Yeah, yeah. Go ahead, Dave. I'll give you the final question, Mister Dave.
Yeah, well, I think the NIL in general is good for the players, but I do find it interesting, and we discussed sitting out and better NFL prospects. But if I remember correctly, Marvin Harrison Jr. was debating staying at Ohio State because he could make more money on an NIL deal than his rookie contract. So I know you said you don't think it's going great for the players, AJ, but do you think? I think NIL in general was good for college athletes. I think that they're getting what they deserve. It was $1 billion piece of a pie off of their work and then putting it in on Saturday afternoon. So, do you think NIL is just an imperfect system right now, or do you think that it was better off where the players weren't getting compensated?
You know, Pat Dye, the old Auburn coach, used to say, "There's no program that's lily white, my friends." So, and I firmly believe that. And when it comes to the whole NIL thing, I think that they should put something in writing where if you want to see that money, you got to stay at least 3 years. You've gotta, yeah. AJ, I
AJ,
want. Okay, go ahead, Dave. I'm
no,
sorry.
AJ, what if we put it on the programs, right? So if somebody signs an NIL deal to go to Texas, he enters the transfer portal. Alabama wants to get them and sign their own deal. What if we put it on like Alabama having to pay back whatever the prorated version is that the guy got from the NIL deal? That's where I was good. That's where I was leading to. Yeah, that's right where I was going.
AJ, I want to thank you so much for coming on tonight, man. This has been quite informative. I'm not an Alabama fan by any stretch of the imagination, but I can respect what Saban did there. LSU was they were fools to let him go. Uh, what could have been. So tell everybody where they can read your material. Got to have you back on, man, especially once the season starts rolling around, man. Thanks, AJ. Take care.
Have a great night, AJ.
You too. So yeah, again we talk about this. This is what makes me sick to my stomach, man. I'm a lot older than some of you guys. Uh, I never thought that I would see the day where college football would be in this sort of landscape, and it's like you said, Dave. You got the name, image, likeness. You got all this other stuff going on. The next step, is Northwestern tried to form a union. The Northwestern players, like 10 years ago, they tried to get what he was talking about, like collective bargaining and stuff like that, unionize and whatnot. And again, it might not happen a year from now or 10 years from now, but if they form a super conference and they break away and they consider a semi-pro league, what the hell you think's going to happen?
Yeah, I mean, like AJ said, like it's basically a professional league. Just the kids that take classes, and they're not kids; they're adults. I shouldn't even say kids. Like they're adults that are playing the sport. People are profiting off of it, and they just have to go to class. That's it. But it is its own league. So I don't think we're too far away from that. You know what I mean? Like I think we all agree that the athletes should be getting compensated in some way, shape, or form. NIL is not perfect right now. It's Gen 1. It's Generation 1. Like, they'll go back in. They'll come out with a new model. They'll work some things through. The best thing to do is keep the teams as competitive as possible. So you don't want to see the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. So AJ has a great point with that. But, yeah, again, this is the first time they're rolling out. This is the first wave. But, yeah, I don't see how we're not too far off from the CBA. And, again, I'm not saying, like you said, I'm not saying it's happen tomorrow. But that's where they're going. These are adults. Like, they go and work jobs to pay bills just like anybody else, and they're making billions of dollars for these schools and these networks. They deserve a slice. They're getting their slice now. Refine it, tweak it up, make it right for everyone as best you can. You know, there's never a perfect solution, but yeah, CBA isn't too far off, I don't think.
Well, to get back to some of the news and notes, I was talking about Arizona. You know, Washington hired Jed Fish, the former now Arizona coach. I thought that what he was building there was fantastic, and of course, Washington pulls him away from Arizona. Fish's deal at Washington is a 7-year contract with an annual average of $7.75 million, according to ESPN sources. Um, the buyout for Washington to extract Fish from Arizona is $5.5 million. That is less than half of the $12 million that Washington is due to receive from the departure of DeBoer in Alabama. So again, it's the ever present revolving door in college football. Now, a couple of the Arizona players have already defected. I was checking the transfer portal. Quarterback Noah Fafita and wide receiver Titiro McMillan emerged as the two top young talents in college football under Fish. Their futures are now up in the air because they figure Fish is going to still be there. And, again, when coaches leave and they bring in a new regime, they might be the new regime's guy. So obviously they're going to enter the transfer portal. So again, and I don't think you're going to stop seeing hires. We're in the silly season now for college football. Everybody's trying to get everything in place before the spring games take place and the spring practices take place. So I fully expect more moves to be made. But again, Arizona jumping to the there's so much crap going on. I think Arizona's jumping to the Big 12. I could be wrong on that, but I think they're jumping to the Big 12. I think it's them in Colorado and a couple other schools. So, again,
Prime says they're going to the college football playoffs this year.
who?
Colorado, Coach Prime. He said they're
Okay.
going to the college football playoffs this year.
Yeah. All right.
You want to know who's going to surprise people this year? My Nebraska Cornhuskers. Huskers going to surprise you. They crushed the transfer portal. They got a 5-star recruit at quarterback. They barely lost anybody. Huskers are winning 9 games this year.
Nine games.
9 games.
Nine games.
Coach Rule and the Huskers, 9 games this year.
Okay, there, wise ass. Let me pull up the Nebraska football schedule here. Let's see what we got going on.
They start last year they started out on the road, 2 games on the road against Power 5 conferences. Nobody else in the Big Ten had to do that. This year, I believe their first 4 are at home.
All right, the spring game is on the 27th of April. I might have to make a trip out there.
Yeah, come on out, man. We'll get some cheesesteaks. We'll check out. We'll hang out.
Enjoy cheesesteak. Do the show from there. So let's talk about your Nebraska corner. They open up the season with UTEP. That should be a win.
Yep.
Then they're home against Colorado. Up in the air.
I think they'll beat Colorado at home.
September 14th, you guys play Northern Iowa. That's a win. September 21st, you've got the Illinois Fighting Illini coming there. Let's see. Then the 28th of September, you guys go to Purdue. You should win that one.
And that's the first road game, I think, right? Those first ones you said were all at home, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they should be 3-0 going into that game, and they should beat Purdue. They should start the season 4-0.
Then you go. No, then you're hosting Rutgers. That should
That's
be a win.
homecoming. That should be a win.
You're at Indiana.
What,
Up in the air.
I think I'm seeing undefeated still. You haven't told me anybody ever undefeated yet.
Then you go to Ohio State. You're not winning that one.
Yeah, that'll be a tough one.
UCLA comes to your house.
I think we beat UCLA. They can't play in the Midwest in November.
Then you have a bye. Then you've got Wisconsin at home. That'll be a tough game.
We took them to overtime. That'll be a tough one though.
And then you finish up the season with that offensive powerhouse, the Iowa Hawkeyes.
Yeah. So how are we not winning 9 games there?
I'll say you guys go 7-5 or 8-4 next year.
Oh, you're not too far off then. You said even 8-4, so you took 7 and 8, but yeah, we Ohio State definitely. We're not going to beat Ohio State, but everyone else should either be a win or definitely a fight.
Just some other news and notes here, and I saw this come across my ticker today. Tagliavoa, the quarterback from Michigan, has entered the NFL draft, or he's going to enter the NFL draft because he was denied his 6th year of eligibility.
Who did this? Wait, what?
To his younger brother.
Oh, at least said Michigan, so Maryland. Gotcha. Okay.
Oh, Maryland. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I got confused. I was like, wait, we talking about JJ
Sorry.
McCarthy?
It's my bad. It's been a long day.
Gotcha. All right, yeah. Well, good. You shouldn't be playing in college for 7-8 years.
So it's just go ahead.
Stetson Bennett finally made it to the NFL right after his college teammate retired from the NFL.
The waiver was denied despite Coach Nick Saban and Alabama writing a strong plea of support to the NCAA because he had entered the transfer portal and he was expecting to get picked up somewhere. But then when this got denied, he decided to go.
I'll go play pro ball then. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's actually kind of funny because, seeing all these guys with their potential 6th year of eligibility or 7th year of eligibility. I mean, dude, you can't stay in college forever. I know it's supposed to be the best time of your life when you're an academic, you're a student athlete, but for Christ's sake, some of these guys graduate in 3.5 years, but because they're injured, you're basically playing in college for free, other than your NIL. You know what I mean? So.
And this was, and COVID played a role in this. There's a lot of COVID waivers that let people extend their eligibility and all that stuff. We're getting past that, though. That's behind us now. We should be getting back to, 1 red shirt year, max 5 years there. So that should be it. Like, we should be having 7-8 years of college ball.
Hello? Yeah, we can hear you. Okay. Angel, you don't have to make up stuff just to come on the show. You can come on the show whenever you want. And then the last thing I kind of saw here was the top 2026 recruit, Julian Lewis. He is reclassifying to the class of 2025. He is committed to USC. Quarterback told ESPN that he plans to reclassify and enter college in the class of 2025. That means this upcoming season at Carrollton High School in Georgia will be his final year in high school.
Was he held back? I don't understand. How was he? What?
So basically, and this was never the case when I was in high school, way back in the ancient days, but now some high school athletes get into they they actually graduate in like 3 years of high school. They like overload their their academic classes, and then some of them will graduate in 3 years, and then they'll be with their college team. They can enroll right away, or they're in college. They're in high school for 3.5 years, and then they enroll. They're like Doogie Housers, basically, is what they are. So you're going to see more and more of this, but again, it'll come back to NIL. Whatever these athletes, whatever best deal they get coming out of high school, and to me, it's a crock. But obviously, he chose USC most likely because of Lincoln Riley. He's a Georgia product, so I don't know how Georgia let him slip away. But again, I'm sure it'll come out that USC offered him the best deal. Look, Isaiah Bond, who just went from Alabama to Texas because Nick Saban left, he goes to Texas, and within a couple of days, he's driving a Lamborghini.
I mean, you brought up Georgia letting people slip away. Dylan Raiola, baby, 5-star quarterback, slipped away from Georgia, coming up to the Cornhusker State, baby. Legacy. His dad played 14 years, played in Nebraska and played 14 years in the NFL.
Dave, did you offer him an NIL cheesesteak deal? Is that what it was?
Yeah, I have.
I mean,
I don't have any money in the business account to pay my bills, let alone an NIL deal.
I'm just asking. You can never know. You could be like silently like backed by a booster.
Before the Raiola stuff popped up and the Huskers kind of pivoted on that, Kyle McCord, he was going to be a transfer portal guy that was coming in, and he's from Philly. But right before the Raiola stuff popped up, I was going to be like reaching out because the Husker football teams used me for catering stuff. I was like, hey, listen, I'm like, the man's from Philly. Bring him in, tell him to get a cheesesteak. Have a meeting here. Like, have a sit down and talk. I'll give you guys the food. And then that kind of all fell apart because Raiola came available. He's a legacy, and they ended up pursuing him over McCord. But yeah, no, man. I wish I could get some people on some NIL deals.
I mean, look at Will Rogers, the quarterback from Mississippi State. He's at Mississippi State. Unfortunately, last year Mike Leach passed away. They had a head coach that came in. He was a sitting duck anyway. Will Rogers, quarterbacks there, has a great career. Then he enters the transfer portal, goes to Washington. Then Kevin DeBoer decides to take the job at Alabama. Now Will Rogers is back in the transfer portal. So, yeah. So I don't know what teams are going to pick him up. He's he's a good quarterback. I haven't seen the teams. Well, here's an article. 6 teams that might be able to potentially land him. One is Texas Tech, which means he'd be going to the Big 12. Michigan, now that McCarthy's gone, we'll have to see there. Let's see. What are the others that I'm seeing here?
What if Harbaugh goes to the NFL? So McCarthy has to be projected as like a late first, mid-second round pick, somewhere in that range. Where could Harbaugh go potentially still get his guy? Like we talked about the Chargers, where they have Herbert. If he goes to Chicago, he's probably not passing on Caleb Williams. Like could Harbaugh go somewhere and get McCarthy at the top of the second round? Like, is that something you think Harbaugh would do?
I just think, to be quite honest, we only have about a minute here left. I think, quite honestly, well, did you see that it came out that Harbaugh wants immunity in his next contract, so that he can't be fired per the investigations that are going on.
Yeah, good for him, man. Yeah. that's a power move. Listen, I'm not guilty of it, but just in case, I want to make it clear you can't fire me.
If you come out and say that you want immunity pending the investigation that's going on, that is a red flag to me that says, yeah, they're probably going to find some stuff, but I just want to make sure that you know what I mean? So,
I love it. Yeah. That's a gangster move right there, man. Listen, look, I'm not saying I did it, but like, just in case somebody else says I did it.
Yeah.
You can't fire me.
Well, I want to thank AJ Spurr for coming on. That was very informative about Alabama and all the other stuff that's going on with college football. Again, thanks to my co-host Elko Dave. I want to thank Angel Martinez for. Oh yeah, that's right. I was gonna say it. He had to throw it up there, being a wise ass. And I want to thank, obviously, Pete's Famous Pizza and Mustaki Authentic Heroes, our sponsors. Good show, fellas. Angel says, thank you for watching. Yes, thank you for watching. Thanks to Deb, as well. I know she does a lot behind the scenes as well. So, again, thanks. No show this Friday. Too much going on right now. It's only going to be every Tuesdays for a while. So, join us next week, Tuesday, same time, 8:30 to 9:30. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.
Have a good night, everybody.